the sleeves completed now, we're going to move over to make the hood. So go ahead and create yourself that first loop like so, and we're going to connect this to the beginning of our hood, which is going to be connected to our original chain that we've made. So that's going to be in the first chain there. Just pop it in there, pull it, and just chain 2. The reason why we are connecting it on this side is because we already have the single crochet there row, which means that we're going to do this next one, the pattern row. Now if you want to have like a little bit of a gap, if you like, between your cardigan and the hood, to make that clear distinction between the both of them, you might want to do a couple of rows of single crochets with decrease, but I do prefer it when the hood sort of like flows, so it's very seamless. So I'm going to continue with the pattern that we've been making, and that is basically doing the pattern row now for the hoodie. So chain 2, remember this chain 2 will count as a double crochet. So this is pretty much the same pattern that we've been following throughout, but on this first row what we'll do is we'll do few decreases. The decreases are going to be at the V-stitch, that's going to be 1. We're going to do a decrease in here in between the 2 V-stitches, then another decrease at the next V-stitch. That's going to give us 3. We're going to have 3 on the same side at exactly the same spot there, so that's going to give us 6, and then we're going to have 4 at the back. So this is the back section, so we're going to have 4 there. Now if you like to place stitch markers where you're going to do the decrease, that's absolutely fine. You can count the stitches and sort of roughly place them in between. If you want to go ahead and do it and feel you can remember it, that's a possibility as well. I personally going to put stitch markers because I want them to be exactly in the same spot, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be back to show you how we're going to do the decrease. I have marked all my decreases. I haven't put the V-stitches because they're very obvious, but the rest of the stitches where I'm going to do decrease, I have put a stitch marker, so you might want to do the same. So this first section will be just your normal pattern row, which is start your double crochet at that first chain, don't finish it, skip 1, and then finish your double crochet at that next stitch, and then chain 1. So keep on with this pattern until you get to the V-stitch. Once you get to the V-stitch, I'm going to meet you there, and we're going to do a first increase. I'm going to show you how to do it. I've come to the V-stitch there, and how we're going to do the decrease is basically we're going to start on our little cluster, same as we were doing before. So skip 1 and then insert it here and just finish this, but instead of chaining 1, we're just going to do another cluster, and that's it. As simple as that. We are just going to skip chaining 1, and then all the rest of them will still have the chain 1s apart from the ones that we've marked as a decrease. So go ahead and do this row of decrease. Please make sure that you do a even number of decreases, because that's going to give you a little bit of an easier pattern to work with when it comes to completing the pattern at the end. So finish that, I'm going to meet you when you come to the end of that row. We're going to start on the next row together, which is going to be the single crochet row. However, we're going to do a few more decreases, and after that is basically just the pattern that we've been following throughout until you reach the desired height of your hoodie. I'm coming to the end of that pattern row. Just need to chain one and then finish off in this last stitch with a double crochet. There we go. Oh, need to tighten that up. And chain one. I'm just going to pull it in because I want to talk to you about something. So if you haven't finished exactly the same as I have, you know, just in the chain before, let's just say you finish your cluster 2 chains down. So when you do your next cluster, you need to go in that chain and then finish in the last chain. Please finish in the last chain. However, you're not going to be making that cluster there. You're just going to do 2 simple double crochets, just a normal double crochets. Otherwise, it's just going to mess up your stitch count. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, if you finished in this one here with your cluster, then follow it just by doing 2 normal double crochets, and that's going to look beautiful as well. Okay, let's turn our work, and this is the row of single crochets. Now on this row we're going to do some further decreases. So for me, I'm going to do a decrease in this first section. So right before the V-stitch here, I'm going to do a decrease. Then I'm going to do another decrease at every V-stitch. Then in between the V-stitches here, just where the shoulder is, in the middle, there's going to be a decrease. And further 4 decreases at the back. So very similar to the decreases we have just done, but I'm just going to add 1 more on each side at the front. So I'm still doing even number of decreases. How are we going to do the decreases? So this is the single crochet row, is we're going to do 2 single crochets together. So let's just start this row. So we're going to start it in that first stitch and we're going to do a single crochet. So go ahead and pop in your stitch marker right there and do your single crochets. Remember, where we didn't chain 1, you're not going to have this gap, so don't worry about it. Just continue doing your single crochets. That's going to be absolutely fine. You wouldn't be able to see it at all. So I'm coming towards the V-stitch, so in here I'm going to be doing my decrease. So 1 more single crochet, and then to do my decrease I'm going to pull up a loop like so. Rather than finishing this single crochet, I'm going to go into this next stitch, pull up a loop. I'm going to have 3 loops on my hook like so, yarn over, pull through all 3, and this is 2 single crochet together. And I'm going to do the same once I've come to this V-stitch, which I'm now. So yarn over, pull up a loop. I'm going to have 2 on my hook. Then you go into the next stitch, pull up a loop. You're going to have 3, yarn over, pull through all 3. So that's my second decrease. So go ahead and do this row of single crochets. Again, like we did before, you might want to mark your decreases to make sure that they're going to be on the same place on your cardigan. I'm just going to do them roughly where I've done the decrease before, so because you can actually see it a little bit because it doesn't have that chain. But if you want to put your stitch markers, by all means you can. So keep doing this row. I'm going to meet you once you come to the end of this row. Once you come to the end, we're going to finish this together. We're going to start on the next row, and that's going to be the row that is going to form your 2-row repeat, like we've done throughout your cardigan, until you reach the desired height. So I'm just the end of that row. I have taken my stitch marker and I'm going to put my single crochet there and then chain 2. The next row will be just your normal pattern row, so nothing special in this row. Pop in your stitch marker into that chain 2 and then continue with your pattern row. Once you get towards the end of this pattern row, I'm going to meet you there, and then we're going to start on the next row, which is going to be a single crochet row, but we're going to do some increases. I know what you're thinking, Vic, you've gone totally bonkers because we've done decrease, now we're going to do increase, but it will all make sense once we get to the next row. So keep crocheting and I'll see you once you come to the end of this row. I'm coming towards the end of that row there. I'm going to pop out the stitch marker and just finish my row, and I'm going to chain 1. So you do the same and we're going to turn our work. Now the next row, as I've mentioned before, will be a row of increase. The reason why we have to do the increase is because if you remember, we actually made the neck opening a little bit smaller, and that is fine because this is going to sit very nicely around the neck, so we need that. But if we do the hat straight from here, the hat is going to be too small, because if you look at your head on a mirror, you're going to notice that your head is a little bit wider than your neck, so we need to account for that really, and that is why we're going to do a little bit of increase on this row. And the single crochet row is an easier one to do an increase rather than doing an increase on the pattern row. So we're going to start the same way as we've been doing so far, and we're going to do a single crochet into that first chain and go ahead and pop in your stitch marker right there. Okay, now the way that I'm going to do the increases is, and if you want to use stitch mark to mark this, by all means do that. So I'm going to do an increase in this first section just before I come to the V-stitch. So my V-stitches were just here, you can see. Okay, so I'm going to do an increase roughly around here, just before the V-stitch. I'm going to do an increase possibly around here maybe, or here, just around the V-stitch there. Okay, then I'm going to do an increase in between those V-stitches, just where the shoulder is, so in the middle there. I'm then looking to do 4 increases in the back, or maybe even 5. I'm going to count how many stitches I've got, and then I'm going to divide them equally, so 4 or 5, and then I'm going to repeat the same around the V-stitch, around the shoulder, around the other V-stitch, and 1 as I come to the end there. Okay, now if your cardigan is for a bigger child, or maybe a bigger cardigan, you might want to do a little bit more increases as well, because yours is going to be bigger. But mine is for 9 to 12 months, so it's a little bit smaller, and yeah, that is suitable for mine. Now, how are we going to do the increases? Again, if you would like to put a stitch marker where your increases are, that's probably a better idea than what I'm doing now, because I have to remember this. Okay, so I'm going to do increases in here now. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on the 6th one I'm going to do a single crochet, and in that same stitch I'm going to do another single crochet, and that's it. That's all we have to do for our increase, and I'm going to keep on crocheting until I get to this V-stitch space. And once I'm at the V-stitch space, I'm just gonna repeat that. So go ahead and do that and work your way all along your cardigan, and I'm gonna meet you when you come near the end of that cardigan. We're gonna finish this row together and we're gonna start on the next one. Coming to the end of that single crochet row, when we've done the increases, altogether I have done 13 increases. So I'm just gonna finish this row and I'm gonna chain 2 and turn our work. So what, oops, I think I've lost a stitch marker there, that's okay. And what we'll do next is a pattern row. The pattern row is very straightforward, it's the same as all the other pattern rows that we've been doing. So go ahead and finish this row. And what we'll do next is we're gonna add another lot of increases, but it's not gonna be as many as you've done for this row. So it's just gonna be probably about half of what you've done. And after that is pretty much straight sailing. Just continue crocheting until you have the desired height of your hoodie, and that's pretty much it really. I'm gonna meet you once you have the height of your hoodie all done, and we're gonna finish the hoodie together and we're gonna work on our edging. Just as a reference to show you the heights of the hoodie again, so you know what you need to do for your cardigan. 1 second, let me bring up my notebook and I'm going to show you that very quickly. So these are the hood heights that you're gonna, so I'm going to be doing a height of 23 centimeters because I'm doing my cardigan for 9 to 12 months. If you're doing for an older child or a bigger cardigan, you need to make sure that your hoodie is at the correct height. So follow these. These are all in centimeters. Okay, and that's pretty much it. So we're gonna have this row, which is gonna be a pattern row, normal pattern row. Then you're gonna do a single crochet row of increases again, but half of the increases that you've done now, and then pattern row, and follow that all the way until you have your desired height of the hoodie. At some point I will change my color as well, so I'm actually thinking of doing maybe like a strips of white on my hoodie as well, but I haven't decided yet, but that's my thinking process anyway. If you would like to do something like that, by all means you can. Remember, it's your hoodie, you can make it individualized to you and however you want to do it. So keep crocheting. I'm going to meet you once we are finished with the height, and we'll connect them, well, connect the two edges together and then do the edge as well. So now I have completed my hood. I've got the height that I want. I'm just quickly going to measure it just to show you. So we're going to measure it from there up until that first row that we did. So that's about 24 centimeters there, which is absolutely fine. That is how much I need. You can actually turn your tape measure around and you can see what's that in inches, if that's your preferred measurement. Now what we need to do is we need to connect our hood at the top here. So I haven't cut my yarn. Don't cut it just yet, because we need to connect the hood from the wrong side. So from the wrong side, you're gonna fold it like so. And then what you'll need to do is to weave in this end here. I would suggest for you to cut a long enough yarn for you to be able to weave in these ends here. And normally what I do is I just double it. So I'll go like this, I'll measure it, and then I'll just double it, and I'll give it a little bit extra on it, and that just gives me enough to do it, but it totally depends on you. It's better to cut more than to cut less and find out that you don't actually have enough to do it. So let's do that, and I'm going to show you how we were going to weave in these two to connect them, and a little bit of a variation that you can do on the hood, and then we're going to start on the edging. I've cut my yarn now, and I've turned the hood inside out, so this is the wrong side. Connect the edge like this. Make sure that your first stitch is in line with the last stitch, like so. And we're just going to connect these two. I'm going to pop out the stitch markers because I don't actually need them anymore, like so. And what we'll do is we're just going to make some slip knots in here. So I'm going to start with the first one there, make a slip knot like so, and then you're going to go under each of the stitches like so. So under this second one and second to last, yarn over, pull through, and make a slip knot. So let's do that again with the next stitches. So the next stitches is this one here and that one there. So we're gonna go underneath that first one, underneath that second to last or third to last, yarn over, pull through, and make a slip knot. We're gonna do this all along the hoodie top, so we're gonna do that all along there. I'm gonna meet you when you're about here, because I'm gonna just talk to you about a few variations that you can do once you finish. But for now, keep on doing the slip knots and make sure that they are not too tight, but they're not loose either. So do them a little bit tighter than you would normally do, because this is the part of the hoodie that can get a little bit stretched, and you don't want it to be too loose to have like holes in it or anything like that. So keep crocheting. I'm going to meet you once you come towards the end of this row, and then we're going to finish this together before we start on the next part of our cardigan. So I'm coming towards the end of that row of the hoodie, and a few things to remember here. So if you keep on crocheting all the way to the end as it is, when you flip your hoodie over, you will have a very cornered edge like so. So your hoodie will have this cornered edge. If you do not like this, when you're connecting these two sides, you will need to maybe pick up a yarning needle and just connect them in almost like a semicircle. So you're going to pick up from here. Okay, so you're going to go with your yarning needle, you're going to connect them like so, and then you're going to come almost to the row below, and that's going to give you a rounded look for your hoodie. So depending what your preferences are, those are the two options you can have. To be fair, if you are finding this a little bit difficult, you can actually use your yarning needle to connect these two. You don't actually have to use your hook to do it. So totally up to you how you want, but I find this to give you a really nice look on the hoodie at the top, because it's got like a really nice crisp line, but that's totally my preference. So I'm coming to the end, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put another slip knot there, yarn over, and then I'm going to weave in that at the end. If we flip our hoodie over, you will notice that mine will have that little corner there, but the hoodie looks something like this. So we will have these lined, but I do like it when we slip stitch it, because it well, I find it looks pretty like that. Okay, so that's our hoodie done. You might notice that I have put a little bit of white there. Again, this is your preference if you would like to do that or not. Okay, next thing, we have to do the border, and the last thing we're going to do is the pocket, but the pocket is a very much optional. Now on my hoodie, on this side, and you might actually have the same, you might have noticed that we already have these little openings. I'm gonna actually use those for my buttons, so I'm not gonna make any openings on this side for the buttons, because I already have these, and that is fine. You might actually have these when we did little cluster. I don't know if you can see it, so the cluster is there. You already have a little opening there, and buttons can go through there. So I'm just going to take a button to show you. So it will go through this hole, there we go, but, and this is like a normal standard button, and it will go through the other one as well. Okay, so you might actually want to use the holes that you already have. I'm going to show you how to make button openings as well, so it's going to be totally up to you. I'm going to be using this a lovely handmade with love buttons, because I'm absolutely in love with them. I do have another set which are sort of very colorful flowery ones. They're very hippie like, but I feel, I don't know, that these ones are going to go better. So this is what I'm going to be using. Okay, so let's start. We're going to start at the bottom on the right side. My buttons are going to be done on the left side, so I'm gonna sew in the buttons on the left side, so the holes will need to be on the right. You might want to swap that. You might want your buttons to be on the left, and then the buttonholes on the right, and the buttonholes on the left. Totally up to you how you want to do it. Just make sure that your border is crocheted accordingly. To do the border, oops, I think I've lost my yarning needle. That's okay. We're gonna make the first stitch like so, and the border is gonna be, well, easy peasy really. So let's connect this to this first stitch at the bottom like so, and then we're gonna chain one, and this row is gonna be easy peasy. It's just gonna be a row of single crochets. So go ahead and start your row of single crochets like so. Please make sure that when you're crocheting this, remember we had a single row and we had this double crochet row, but the double crochet row is not fully the size of a double crochet because it goes in like a little zigzaggy thing. So what I would suggest for you to do is to maybe do 2 single crochet on one row and maybe 1 in the other row, because what you don't want to happen is for for your work to be stretched out, but equally you don't want your work to get all crinkled like this. It's very much going to be a little bit of a trial and error if you're doing it first time, but that's okay. Yarn is very forgiving, so you guys can experiment. I'm also going to weave in the end like this because I'm going to crochet over it. Now this single crochet all across this side will also continue on the hood all the way, and it's going to come down on the other side as well. If you're going to be making button openings on this side, if you don't fancy using what's already there, what you will need to do is, when you're doing a single crochet, so let's just say I want a button here, I'm going to do my single crochet, and then what you'll need to do is to chain 2 and then skip 2 and do your single crochet. And once you've done that, you're going to have, there you go, a button opening. So that's an option if you fancy doing that. But for now, keep crocheting, single crochet all around the cardigan, and I'm going to meet you once you're on the other side near the end. We're going to finish this single crochet border together, and we're going to start on, well, the next row. And yeah, make sure, oh, before I forget actually, make sure that you count, make sure you count how many single crochets you've done on this side, because you need to match that on the other side. They need to match, guys. So keep crocheting and I'll meet you shortly. One thing I sort of forgot to tell you guys is, if for example you don't want to see these holes, if you do have them on one of the sides because of how the pattern turned out, what you can do is, when you're doing a single crochet, you can actually catch one of these loops there and just crochet that with your single crochet, like, okay, I'm going to show you now. So you can catch that and then do your single crochet, do it a little bit loosely, and that will close that opening and you won't be able to see it. Please remember, if you're going to be using them for your buttons, to actually mark where your buttons are going to be, so you don't actually close them then. But as you can see, they do close like so. You might actually like to leave them like this, it's totally up to you. Okay, so let's continue crocheting. Okay, so I'm coming towards the end of this very long row, and I've just got a couple of stitches left, so I'm just going to do my single crochet there. I'm going to finish on this last stitch that is looking like it's coming out, and I'm going to chain 1. What we'll need to do next is, on this side of our cardigan where we're gonna put the buttons on, we need to extend this a little bit. How are we gonna extend it? We're gonna extend it by doing half double crochets up until here. This is our first row, so we're gonna do half double crochets all up until here, and then a single crochet going down, and that will then make sure that this side fits underneath the other side like so, and then we can sew in the buttons to make sure that they go in our button openings. Okay, so how are we going to do that? We've chained 1, and then in this first stitch there we're going to do a half double crochet. So yarn over, insert the hook into that first chain, yarn over, pull up a loop. You're going to have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through, all 3 and pop in your stitch mark there and continue doing half double crochets until you reach that first row that we've made. So when you reach the single crochet row that we've made at the beginning, once you're near there, I'm gonna meet you. We're gonna finish this row together and we're gonna start on the last row for our border. I'm coming towards the end of that row, so this is my beginning chain here. So I'm gonna do my last half double crochet in there and I'm gonna chain 1. So this is the time where you're gonna have to check in on your work. So lay in your cardigan like so, and please make sure that this part where we did the half double crochet lays underneath your other part where you've got the button openings, and then have a look through the buttons to make sure that you have that half double crochet underneath that, because if you don't, or if that space is not big enough, the next row you're going to do another row of half double crochet. If you feel that that's big enough to put the button underneath here so you can do the button, then you can do a single crochet. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Mine, I can get away with single crochet, but I think I'm going to put another row of half double just to be sure, because you won't be able to see it. It's going to go underneath this side of the cardigan. So totally up to you. If your cardigan goes a little bit like so, okay, and you've got ample of space underneath for your buttons, then you might just do single crochet on the row back. If not, if it's like this and you feel, well, you know, it's touch and go, just do another row of half double crochets. So this is the last row for our border, and once you finish this row, come off. Once you finish this row, just tie in your ends and we will start on the pocket as well. So keep crocheting, finish this row, tie in the ends, and then come back. The pocket is going to be very simple and very quick to do as well. So, oh, actually, I don't even need a stitch marker because this is the last row. Okay, keep crocheting. Okay, so this is the hoodie so far. So as you can see, it's taken shape and I do have the hood all completed now, all weaved in there, which is fine. So all I'm left to do now is to put the buttons. I'm not going to show you how to do the buttons because it's very simple to do, and also to put in a pocket. Oops, I have made a pocket which I'm just going to show you, and I have used this sparkly yarn to do it, which is beautiful. Oops, that's the wrong side. And what I'm going to do is just gonna basically sew it in to the side there. So it's fairly big pocket. I'm gonna have just one because I'm gonna make it very much like a statement pocket, if you like, because I'm gonna put a beautiful flower on top. Now I have made few flowers, as you can see, because I wasn't sure about the combinations, whether to have like some sort of bold statement with them, or I don't know what I was thinking. So I have made few, and I'm very much debating whether to have the pink one there, because I think pink and blue goes like really beautifully, or maybe even have this, because I think that's gonna look beautiful as well. I don't know, I'm gonna have a little think. And also gonna have a couple of flowers on the hood like that, because I think that's gonna tie it all very nicely together. I might just have like few that are gonna go like in a bunch maybe. So that's all that is left to do. Just to let you know that the pattern is exactly the same as the cardigan. So I did the normal chain, then single crochet, and then the pattern row, single crochet, and so on. So this is very much going to depend on how big your cardigan is. And that's pretty much it, guys. I'm gonna go ahead, sew in the buttons. I have opted in for these ones because I do like them, and they're probably one of my favorites because it says handmade on them, and they all have different motifs. So I'm gonna sew them in, and I'm gonna have 5 altogether, and it's gonna be time for the end results. Thank you all for being here with me and doing this project. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you liked it. There's loads of different color combinations that you can do with this, so go ahead and do it. And if you enjoyed this project, please subscribe, like these videos, and yeah, I'll see you on the next upload. Thank you all. I hope you have a lovely day.